Hey there, Carnage Cravers. Welcome back to Carnage Corner. I am Ken Carnage, and today I want to do something a little special. Today I want to do the top 10 list, top 10 WWE champions. It's a big one, and it's also one that's hotly contested. And it seems like everybody and their nana has a different list, has a different opinion on who goes where, who goes fifth, who goes sixth, who goes seventh, and most certainly nobody seems to agree about who goes first. So I compiled this list and I tried to be as fair and impartial as I could, not letting my own biases or my own fanatic ideas run wild on this. So, that being said, I'm going to go through it list by list, and I'm going to talk about why the person made the list and why they made the list where they made it. So bear with me, and please bear in mind that if you disagree with me, that's fine. You can even go in the comments and tell me about it. I'm not saying that this is definitively this is what it is, and if you argue with me, you're wrong. No, we all have our own opinions. It's not anything like that. But trying to be as fair and impartial as I could, because there are people on this list I do not like. Let me just get that one out of the way right now. And if you've watched my show for any amount of time, you'll know that. So, going into it now, my number 10. Number 10, I have Pedro Morales. Pedro Morales was the heir apparent to Bruno Sammartino, and he held the WWE Championship for a combined 1,027 days. The sheer amount of time he spent with the belt in his possession puts him in the conversation for the top WWE champions of all time. It kind of has to. Moving on to number 9. At number 9, we have The Rock. Because, well, duh. No, in all seriousness, I mean, The Rock is a 6-time WWE champion, and he was WWE champ. He was trading the belt back and forth with Stone Cold Steve Austin during what was possibly the hottest time in the business. You know, wrestling was at its pinnacle of popularity, and The Rock was the greatest villain in the industry. So, yeah, no, naturally he's gonna make the list. A lot of people would probably put The Rock higher, but just going off of, again, trying to be as impartial and as I can, I feel like other people's, because The Rock left for Hollywood and didn't stay longer, I feel like he did not rack up as many accolades as some of the other people on the list may have. So, that being said, number 8, I have Triple H. I know what you're saying, but Ken, every single thing Triple H has accomplished, he only got because he's banging the boss's daughter. You could be right about that. I've made that comment myself a time or two. It's wholly within the realm of possibility. Doesn't change the fact that Triple H has been a 9-time WWE champion, a great heel, very, very good at making people hate him. Definitely a better heel than he is a babyface for sure. And but I mean, 9 times as champion. Now, none of his championship reigns were especially long, which actually lends credence against the whole "oh, he likes to bury people" argument. As far as it comes to his WWE championship runs, you don't really see any evidence of burying anybody. But that being said, Triple H at number 8, due to his impressive 9 WWE Championship reigns. At number 7, we're going to go old school yet again. We're going to go to Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund had a combined reign, between his 2 reigns, he had a combined reign of 2,138 days. And Bob was, I guess, you know what's a good comparison for the younger fans? Bob was your grandfather's and possibly your great-grandfather's Daniel Bryan. Just to give you guys a point of reference. So he was very much the everyman, and very technically sound. Admittedly, did not look like much, but in this day and age, you didn't have as many people who did look like much. I mean, these were the days before your ripped physiques and your quote-unquote giants. I mean, we had a few, but they weren't as common as they became once Hogan became champion. So, that being said, Bob Backlund was always great, and he also, for a time, was the face of the WWE, holding the championship for well over 1,000 days in just one reign, because his second reign wasn't all that long, before Diesel came by and squashed him. So, at number 6, I have Shawn Michaels, and I can hear you now. He didn't even hold the belt that many times. No, perhaps not. 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. 3 times Shawn Michaels was WWE champion. But it was the importance of when he was and what was going on around him that made me put him here. That being said, Shawn Michaels was the champion who took us, away from the Hogans, so to speak. I mean, the bigger stars, the older stars were leaving the WWE. And Shawn Michaels was the face of the company at this time. A time when the company's fate was cloudy. A time when, Vince may have lost some sleep, even though he says he doesn't sleep. But if Vince may have lost some sleep about what was going to happen, Shawn Michaels was the man he trusted to be the face of his company at this time. And Michaels did not disappoint. I've never in my life seen a bad Shawn Michaels match. If you can find me a bad Shawn Michaels match that isn't from, the territory days when he was still green as grass, you find me a bad Shawn Michaels match from his time in the WWE at all, I will eat my shoe. I probably won't actually eat my shoe, but I will be shocked as shit. I'm not sure shoe leather would agree with my my digestive system. All right, moving on from there. So, at number 5, I have Randy Orton. Randy Orton, like Triple H, a 9-time WWE champion. Randy Orton, also the perennial heel. Plays such a good heel, although I would argue he makes a better babyface than Triple H does. And Randy Orton, a real stalwart of the company. All else fails, they still have Randy Orton. Like they try something and it doesn't work out, they can always slip right back into that. Oh, Randy Orton is champion because it works. Much like WCW had done with Ric Flair at one time, just like WCW did with Hulk Hogan, just like WWE did with Hulk Hogan at one time. Randy Orton, I've, heard JBL, I believe, say it a million times, that if you were going to build a professional wrestler from the ground up, they would look like Randy Orton. They would act like Randy Orton. And I tend to agree with JBL. Orton is, And I'm not just saying this because he's one of my favorites. Matter of fact, he's one of my favorites because of this fact. Randy rarely ever disappoints. He's not as good at getting good performances out of bad performers as a Shawn Michaels is, or even a Kurt Angle is. But he himself has always been great. So, moving on from there, so that was, again, quick recap. Pedro Morales at 10, The Rock at 9, Triple H at 8, Bob Backlund at 7, Shawn Michaels at 6, and Randy Orton at 5. Now, moving into the top 4, and at number 4, get ready to catch your eyeballs as they roll out of your head. I'm ready to catch mine. Hulk Hogan. Oh, I got him. Okay. Yes. I understand that you guys have heard me pretty much do nothing but trash Hogan every time I've mentioned him because I don't like him. And no, I don't like him. I didn't like him when I was a kid. I don't like him now. I appreciate him now. His place in history and what it did for the business. But no, I still don't like him. But that being said, Hulk Hogan held the title for a combined 2,185 days. Admittedly, that was over 6 championship reigns, including one when he was much older that probably shouldn't have happened, but it's neither here nor there. Hulk Hogan was this business for a long time. There are people alive today who, if you say pro wrestling, Hulk Hogan's the first one they think of. Now, granted, they probably weren't watching in the late 90s, but it's neither here nor there. Hulk Hogan, he was this business for a long time, and his place in history can't be disputed. With the WWF or the WCW for that matter. So, yeah, the sheer amount of time he spent holding on to that belt, I would say earns him a place on the list. And beyond that, everything else that he did, whether we like it or not, right, wrong, or indifferent, was very important. So, at number 3, this is how you know I'm being fair and impartial. Because if I was going solely on my own fandom, this guy would have been number 1. At number 3, I have Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why? 'Cause it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, damn it! Like, what the fuck? Stone Cold Steve Austin, the highest grossing, highest drawing professional wrestler in history, and it cannot be disputed. That being said, Stone Cold Steve Austin had five runs for the WWE Championship. Over time, one of the first people to introduce to have their own custom championship, Smoking Skull belt. So one of my favorite designs. Steve changed the business, or he was at least in. He didn't do it by himself, obviously, but he was the fulcrum in the tipping point of the business. He made wrestling the most popular it had ever been. And people will be like, oh, it was the Monday Night Wars. Sure it was. But why was WWE, why was there a war in the first place? Why was it WWE didn't just get steamrolled? A lot of it had to do with Austin. No, he wasn't all of it. You had DX in there as well, doing their thing. Undertaker, of course, was there through all that and always reliable. But, the show centered on Austin. Monday Night Raw centered on Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he delivered. So, and then at number 2, another example of my being fair and impartial, because I cannot damn this son of a bitch. At number 2, I have John Cena. Cena has held the WWE Championship more times than anyone else at 13 total reigns. As much as I hate the man, he was, without a doubt, the face of the company. During what may not have been the best time in the company, it wasn't the worst time for sure. And at least not when he started. He came in the tail end of the Attitude Era. And when the WWE went into its new era, he was a young and passionate and eager to please face that they could put out there. And that's where it all started. And when they went PG, he changed his character so that he could remain in that position, and he took his position as the face of the company very seriously, and for that I'll give him some credit. But yes, John Cena at number 2. I'm going to move on before I vomit. Okay. Another quick recap. Number 10, Pedro Morales. Number 9, The Rock. Number 8, Triple H. Number 7, Bob Backlund. Number 6, Shawn Michaels. Number 5, Randy Orton. Number 4, Hulk Hogan. Number 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 2, John Cena. So, my number 1. I can see your wheels turning. Who's number 1? Who's number 1? He already said Cena. He already said Hogan. He already said Austin. He already said Rock. Who's left? Better not be Jinder Mahal. It's not Jinder Mahal, I promise you. Nor is it Rey Mysterio or Daniel Bryan or Jeff Hardy. No. For my number 1, I had to go. I really didn't have a choice. I had to go old school. I had to go with the champion, whom without him, the WWF probably wouldn't have survived to become the WWE. Bruno Sammartino held the WWE Championship twice for a combined 4,040 days. Both of his title reigns were well over 1,000 days long. Think about that today, in a time where when somebody holds the belt for 9 months, the fans start complaining that he's had it too long. This man was an absolute stalwart. And the importance of his contributions cannot be overstated. It really cannot be. And this is a guy that, if you tried to shoot on him in the ring, you were in big trouble. Make no bones about it. As the signs and as the sign said, and as the crowds chanted in those days, Bruno is uno, and that indeed he was, and he is today on my list. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been my list. A quick recap once again. Morales at 10, Rock at 9, Triple H at 8, Bob Backlund at 7, Shawn Michaels at 6, Randy Orton at 5, Hulk Hogan at 4, Stone Cold at 3, John Cena at 2, and Bruno Sammartino at number 1. Again, I'm sure your lists look different. You can feel free to type your list into the comment section below. I'd be interested to see what it looks like. Hopefully not too many people are upset with my decision to put Bruno Sammartino at number 1. I believe it's hard to argue with, with him being deserving of his place on the top 10. I don't think you can argue that he doesn't. Whether or not he deserves a top spot may be debatable to some people, but to me it just made sense. To this day, no person has spent more time with that belt around their waist than Bruno Sammartino. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that has been my list. I am Ken Carnage, and always remember that Carnage is right around the corner.